So this is my flat earth table and explanation of what we have going on in this world, possibly. So, we're going to take a little journey. I'm going to try to explain this as best I can. Try to make this a longer video than my shorter videos. And I'm going to try to give you guys an actual ending. So, this is the table, and what I have is I've made a bunch of trees. I have a star map. I have the sun, and then I have our actual plane. I don't believe that we're a disc. I believe that it is an endless plane. I'm not sure how far. I'm just going to kind of show you what we got going on here and what I've located and what we've kind of used to make our model here, I suppose. So let's take a little look. So this is going to be the stars. This is the top portion of the stars with all of them drilled out. It looks just like this. So if you guys can see that these are the same stars as well, just on a smaller scale. So I'm going to set that off to the side so you guys know what that is. These trees down below are made out of plastic and stuff, but this is what I'm talking about when it looks like trees could be wiring. So if you guys can imagine trees being a little more like metal and more conducting of electricity, as well as being able to pull and move water like pumps. So I got a couple of those trees. This is another tree that I made. Is going to be the same kind of idea here, but what I did was I put it in borax upside down while the borax and water was really warm, and I let it crystallize on the tree upside down, and that gave it the little crystals like that. So kind of the same way leaves can form, if you can imagine that as well, that leaves could kind of be collecting upon the tree and growing like little crystals as well. Like there are no rocks, it's all just minerals. So here is our old compass here. This is given to me by my good buddy Eric Shaw. Thank you very much. This is very handy. Points north, so it sits in the little water table. Points north for me. These are the root systems of what I've kind of described under the model tree. So if you can imagine below, this would be the root system as well. So I'm going to kind of explain how this is going to be wiring, so it's going to kind of touch and connect and make a full circuit of electricity. Clay, in case some stuff falls down. A ruler so we can talk about time travel. And a pin. So I'm going to draw some of this stuff out because sometimes I can't verbally explain it, so I'm going to try to explain it through drawing. This is going to be the clock that we use for time travel. All right. This is the big reveal. This is what I would like to explain the very most. So I didn't just pick a location of these trees. I put the location where there's supposed to be planets. So I put trees on every one of these circles. And you might ask, where did you get the idea to put the circles right there? Well, that's where they are. So between the space race a long time ago, it was between Russia, the United States, and China. You can see that the sun path goes over China, Russia, and North America. That is the sun right there. So I marked out the sun. This is going to be Cancer, the equator, and Capricorn as it spins around. And these are the planets. So if you wanted to label the planets as we were looking at them so you guys have a reference. The furthest one's out. Sorry, I'm kind of trying to hold this all up. But I'm going to try to give you a complete video. So, if you are the descendant from maybe like this tree stump, you might be from Saturn. See the correlation? Now also, I don't know if you guys will be able to see, but you can see all the water sources for the natural water that's coming out of the ground is being pumped out of each one of those little circular areas. So I propose that that is a tree stump. Can also be represented as a planet or a plant, right? So this would have been the plant that's pulling all the water up and soaking it and making our waterfalls. And as trees grow, they have little droplets, and this would be the moon's new growth that are right next to it. So, big plants, little plants, big plants, little plants, big plants, little plants. That's Mount Connor. This is the tabletop mountain in Africa. Mount Everest. This is the Gobi Desert, so this would have been, I think, Mercury right here. And then we also have the movie Up. Those two circles right there would have been the tabletop mountains, Paradise Falls and Up. And this would have been all of them. So these mountains are actually in locations. So that's the Devil's Tower in Wyoming. I don't mean to call it the Devil's Tower, but it's a tree stump. Looks like that. Niagara Falls would have been right here. This would have been a little tiny tree. This would have also been a plant that's still pumping water, so we have a waterfall. Sorry for blocking that. Here is the giant tree with the root system. Like volcano systems, tubes and tunnels, that would have been able to pull this water from down here, pump it up the tree, and, you know, rain down and photosynthesis and all that stuff, if that's real. Or it's a mountain. And all this has to go somewhere. So this turns into something. So this turns into our sand and our ash and our rocks and our little tiny fossilized trees like that are in Arizona. If you want to go to, or it's in California, the fossilized tree forest. So there's that. So that's what the trees got going on. Mountains, mountain, water, volcanoes or waterfall, depending on what's down here. Kind of elaborate a little bit more on that. So here's our serpent snake, our one sun that goes around. I want to show you that dimension. Do you see how that snake right here looks like the infinity sign? Kind of looks like the infinity sign. And what if I took this tree and I put this tree right in the middle? Doesn't that look like an infinity sign with a tree in the middle of it? Infinity sign with the middle of a tree in the middle of it. Let's take a look at that. Infinity sign with a tree in the middle of it. See? Okay. So now let's talk about time travel. As the stars spin around us, they're going to go this direction, right? If we are going to go forward in time, we are going to go where the stars are going to go. If we're going to go in the past, we are going to go where the stars have been. If we are going to go into a parallel universe, we are going to go parallel with those stars. Parallel. So it'll be future, past, parallel dimensions. Future, past, parallel dimensions. So we have infinity, infinity, BMW, Audi. 4 rings would be the 4 rings that we're talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4. BMW is the 4 seasons. Infinity is this one. What else do we have? Oh, Volkswagen. That's my favorite. One, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1. Volkswagen. So that's with Tesla's information with endless energy. So that's why all these cars have these logos of what they are, because that's time travel. So we can travel underneath the stars Here's all our stars. So we can travel where the stars are going to go, where the stars have been, and parallel to where the stars are. So there's your time travel. Now let's talk about why there's actually those hands on the clock. Possible. The sun is tracked by the seconds it spins the fastest. The moon is a reflection of the sun, and it tells you how high the sun is in the sky. How we talk about it goes up and down like the infinity sun. The hour's hand tracks the heavens, so it moves much slower, 0.9 degrees per day, 365 days to get the full circle. Sorry for you guys hearing that ticking of the clock. This also explains time zones. So if you point your 12 o'clock hand to north, you will see as the sun goes around which direction it is. Sorry for catching that glare. But you're saying, why does 12 look like an N? That doesn't even seem right. Well, because we don't write 12 the appropriate way anymore. We write 12 this way on the bottom, but you really write 12 with the degrees. That is 2 degrees. But if you turn it this way, that is north. So that is N being in the top center, north, top center. So while you're traveling, you can picture this, wherever the sun is going to be, whether the sun is at your back, face, whichever direction you're going to be at, you face north. If the sun is going to be coming from your right, it's coming this way, from the east to the west, as it spins around, and you can see your shadow length. People have trouble remembering how do you calculate your shadows, dimension, how is it relative to what you have going on with what you would have at birth. So what you have at birth is your hands and your birthday suit. So what can you use as your hands? Here's your hands here. I'm going to trace them out for you. And try to explain this and draw it. I haven't done a video this long, and I'm going to try to do my best to make it cohesive and together. So this is going to be 90 degrees, 60 degrees, 45 degrees, 30 degrees, and 0. So when you're coming up with your equation, if you want to figure out what angle it's going to be for your sine, cosine, and tangent, you put that finger down, and it'll be 1 squared over 2, and then that's going to be your sine. Cosine is going to be 3 over 2 squared, so on and so on. So it'll be 2 and 2, you're dividing hands. I'll link a video that explains that a little bit more in the description, I guess is what you do now. So we've covered tree location, we've covered mountains, our tree stumps, we've covered what a volcano and a waterfall is. So that's a lot of stuff. Time travel, time zones, mountains, and one sun, rotation, height. So far we are knocking down some of these theories, all right? So we got one sun, like the red dragon in the sky, the serpent, Loki's child. Okay, let me give you an overview here. Here are the stars plotted out. So I didn't just pick some random locations. I actually got this. This is the entire charted stars from our North Star out to our lateral, our furthest longitude, and then I transferred it the plexiglass. And you can't really see, but there's little tiny Sharpie marks on there that are also, reflected by black light. So while you're looking up at the stars wondering, oh, what's that one, what's that one? You just bust out the little black light and then you can see it. So, as the stars spin around, like this, if you go ahead of where the stars are going to go, that's traveling in the future. If you go behind where the stars are going to go, that's traveling in the past. And if you travel parallel, that's a parallel dimension, right? So, if you're underneath the stars, you're never going to hit them. And we're going to go to this little thing here. I'm going to show you a little piece. So this is what mountains are going to be underneath all these little trees I'm about to show you. So here are those trees in those locations. Africa, South America, North America, Asia, Australia. All in their spots. So here's Mount Connor. Tabletop mountain in Africa. Tabletop mountain in Africa. This one in Africa is all gone. This is all desert. But it left this big debris, so you see how it burnt down the most. This one didn't burn down that much, so it doesn't have that much debris. It still has a huge stump. And it also is going to go down into the base here, into the water. We got all of these. Big trees, little trees. Now let's talk about where the people would have been at. People that don't see any color or see any sun are going to be down here with no color. People that slowly live up the tree are going to get darker. The people that live the most high on top of the tree are going to be the darkest. So if they are the darkest and these trees burn down, they are going to be the descendants of these trees. They're going to come down to land that was not formed before. It used to be oceans. So there would have been a mixture of people all of a sudden, from all of these descendants now descending upon this land mass that's brand new, with no growth or vegetation yet. And our oxygen level would have been depleted, so it's super low oxygen level. These trees are burning down. And the only thing left is the highest point. So this, I'm not saying that this is everything, and I don't think that we're floating around in space. I think the space, I think I've said this before, is the space between us. So that is what we are looking at now. Okay? So we have all our mountains. So now we would have conjugated again on these mountaintops, and then we would have been able to go down into the land as the waters receded back into the ash that is accumulated. And also the way that we would have these huge forests, there's going to be other plant life. There's going to be fungus. There's going to be mushrooms that would have been growing and decomposing all these giant trees. They would have been giant mushrooms as well. The mushrooms that you look at, if you really guys want to see some amazing photos, go to Stephan Axford. Amazing photos of mushrooms, and you can imagine if those mushrooms were giants, they would have looked like something out of this world. Fingers, all sorts of stuff. So we have the sun, the seconds tracker, the moon, the minutes tracker, hours is the heavens tracker. You ready? Sun goes around, and the sun goes up and down. and it gets a reflection of the moon, which is just what we are. Moon. Little tiny craters, those are mountains. Those mountains are our mountains. This is a reflection of us from this, a reflection on this. So there's layers. There's layers like oxygen, helium, hydrogen. It's going to go all the way up. So the higher the oxygen, the higher the altitude, the less oxygen. So if there's less oxygen, how would the body adapt to having less oxygen? You'd have to change, your body would adapt. Noses, everything would be different. Noses on the top, if you live down below a tree, how are we born? What do we have when we're very born? So, very basic stuff, trying to break down where we are, where we came from, who we are. No religious denomination, just trying to go through what we've seen so far. When we talk about these circles in the math, we talk about the sun going around. Let's see if I can draw this stuff for you while we're just talking. So if we have the sun going around, here's north, and the sun goes around. See how it's kind of making? Sorry, I'm trying to do that. Makes like a star. Let's see. Let's try that again where I'm not. There we go. Sorry. There we go. Better. Sorry about that. So that's what the sun is doing. So it's going up and then cooling off and coming down. Then warming up again, cooling off, and it's pivoting around that center tree. I don't know why. I don't know what the sun is. I don't know what shape it is. I just know that it's a source of light. So, and it seems to be traveling. I'm not sure why. No other idea what this could all mean. No answers at all. I kind of put together some of the mythological stuff. I got one of these great photos. So I got a postcard when we went to Hawaii, and I got this postcard of some lava flowing, and that just was killer. So you can know how you're supposed to do this and just show everything that's on there, so don't get in trouble. And then, but this photo we got from a photographer who stayed at the same Airbnb and left a pile of photos for everybody who visits to get one. There was multiple copies of this. This looks like a foot on fire to me. I hope you guys see the same thing, and that's kind of like the mythology of Sutar, the guy who destroyed Asgard. So here is his information on the photos and what he had typed up. Just beautiful stuff. I suggest you guys pause the video and kind of read this. Maybe check out some more of his photography. From what we've seen, it's beautiful. I don't know him personally, I just saw his photography. So I just thought it was beautiful. Let's get a little bit over on here and see if I can explain this, and then we'll be done. So if we would have had trees and stuff down here, this is going to be where we also would have been able to have villages. We would have been able to gather. We would have been able to collect the fruit from the giant trees. They could have been giant fruiting trees. We could have had trees that had dropped giant seeds that were floating. If you guys get into growing your own food, you know when you get some fruit and you cut the seeds out, you put them in water, you get the ones that float, the ones that don't float, they sink to the bottom. You can see which seeds are good and that are going to germinate. So maybe the seeds that didn't germinate got carved into faces, you know, that looked like from maybe where the trees came from at the very top. Who knows? So we got planets are not plants, or planets are plants like this, like a tree stump. Small moons are small growth. This moon didn't grow around it, it was in the same growing canopy, so it dropped and grew another one. Dropped and grew another one. So these are mountains. A couple of good books. It's been one of my favorite books. This is one of my favorite reads right now. And kind of going over, I got Martin's book, Terrance McKenna's book, some ancient books and information. So this is Michelangelo. These carvings are not carvings of stone. These are probably people. There's no way that that stone was carved like that. So there's just tons and tons of stuff. I hope this gives you guys a little bit more in-depth version of what I have going on with this table. And we are going to pack this table up. This is going to be the last video I kind of do with this table and the explanation and all the trees and stuff. You can't just hypothesize. You have to go out and live and see what's going on and check and see and visit other places. So that is going to be the next thing. Hope you guys enjoyed this stuff. I hope you guys kind of look at the world a little differently. Maybe you can look at the world where you guys are coming from and where you guys live personally to see where the sun goes around and comes up and comes down. If it's in the same window every single day of your house, if it's in the same direction that you drive to work every single day at the same time, if you have that glare on your drive home, there's plenty of things to look through. Just pay attention. Just kind of check it out. I'll give you one more overview. So, in the beginning, just water. Water turned to algae. Algae turned to small plants. Plants decomposed, then there was fungus. Then there was bigger plants, then there was bigger fungus, and then there was bigger plants, and then there was bigger fungus, and so on, until we have these big old plants and the reefs that we have, the coral reefs, the fungus reefs. That's fungus. Those are petrified mushrooms. Mountains are petrified trees. North is the carbon deposit of the main tree in the middle. These other trees don't have the main deposit. It's underneath the water. That's maybe the biggest collection of it. If you guys, hope you guys like that kind of stuff. This is like old school alchemy. So if you have water in here and you put the electricity in there and you boil it, you can put plants in there and it would cool off and then you would get the natural oils. Because our space travel, remember we were talking about the cars, when you get in your car and you drive ahead of where the stars are going to go, so you're driving in the future. Our fossil fuels are petroleum oil. The essential oil from the trees is what fuels our cars. It's not dinosaurs, it's tree deposits. That's why we have so much of it. Check it out. All right. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time for watching this video. I tried to make a longer video this time to explain it, so it's not so much rambling. Maybe a little more rambling. Just a longer video. Water sources are on the tree stumps. Natural water comes up from the tree stumps. Oil. Everything. Very cool. Alrighty, thank you very much. I made almost all this stuff in here. Made those rugs, made those trees, made the table, made the nightstand, made this stuff in here. Now it's time to go fact check. Awesome. Thanks for watching. Take care.